guy in Dallas when it comes to headlight restorations, because I offer something that a lot of guys don't, not that I'm aware of, but I actually offer a limited lifetime warranty on my work when it comes to headlight restoration, because I'm going to put a coating on this lens when I'm done that is permanent. And if it fails, I tell my customer I will come back and do it free of charge. You know what that does? That's unbelievable for me. Customers are willing to spend more money, and it's not a game of smoke and mirrors. It's not like I'm trying to rip them off, but I'm offering them something that other detailers aren't. A solution, not just a repair or a fix. So when I think of headlight restoration, a lot of guys look at it as a repair. I want a solution to the problem. I don't want to have to do this again. I don't want my customers to have to do it again if they're going to keep their car. So I use a coating on the lens that's a permanent coating. It's far stronger than the original OEM clear coat. All right, let's go in there and clean up our mess. Just put a little bit more soapy water on there. I'm going to wipe that off. Another thing for professional detailers or guys looking to get into it, one of the things you want to do, because you're going to be using water on the front of the headlight with your wet sanding paper, you want to make sure you clean this area up for your customer. You don't want them to see runny white slurry coming off the lens onto the bumper. Clean up this area after you're done. Give them their car back in great shape. Not only do you want to dial those lenses in, give them perfection there, but you want to also clean up after yourself. That's the whole reason why we're taping. We don't want to scratch their car. We don't want to leave slurry and wet sanding goop and grime that comes off this stuff running down their bumper. Clean this area up. Sometimes I'll take a spray wax and hit the side of the fender here. Maybe hit the spray wax on the chrome trim just to clean up after myself. I don't want any residue. I want the customer to come outside and look at the lens and go, wow, that looks amazing. And the front of the car is clean. Give it back to them clean. That's important. Okay, so let me just see where my sanding marks are with the 1500. Blow on it here. Help evaporate that water. Everything looks good. I'm starting to see the 800 grit sanding marks disappear. Now all I see is 1500 sanding marks. They're evenly distributed across the lens. I'm looking good. My final step is going to 2000 grit. I want to refine this a little bit more. So here I go. I'm going to wet my sandpaper again like I did with all the other sandpaper. Wrap it around my sponge. Put a little bit more water on the lens. And this is going to be my last process with sanding, with wet sanding. Then I'm going to go in with a compound and a polish. So now all I'm doing is removing the 1500 sanding marks. I want to refine it to 2000. Why do I do this? Because it's going to be far easier to compound and polish it. It's also going to restore a lot more clarity to the lens. If you're using a rotary here, you probably could stop at 1000 grit or 1500 grit, but I'm going to use a DA. I'm using a DA because most of you are probably using it as well. So I want to show you that even though I'm stopping at 2000 grit with sandpaper, I can still remove those 2000 grit sanding marks with a DA in the right pad. All right, we're getting somewhere. We're cooking with steam, or whatever they say. Man, I'm sweating like a pig, but that's all right. All right, I'm going to get the side of this lens. I'm probably going to block the view a little bit, but I want to change my angle and get over this. Watch your tape. When the tape gets wet from you spraying it with the soapy water, your tape might start to lose grip. Be careful of that. If you got to retape. Again, you do not want to scratch the customer's car, right? That's the last thing we want to do. All right. This lens is looking pretty darn good. Again, it's a 1999 or a 2000. These lenses have begun to fail several years ago, but we want to do it now. Plus, it gives me an opportunity to make a video. So I'm going to let that dry up a little bit, kind of pick up some of the water around the lens, start cleaning up the bumper for my customer. This is a rubber bumper. I'm not worried about scratching it, but any of the painted surfaces or whatever, going to be a little bit more gentle. And when I'm done compounding and polishing, I'm going to remove all the tape and clean up with a spray wax or something like that to remove all that residue. Okay, so there we are. We're pretty much ready to start compounding. I'm probably shaking the video, sorry guys. Just want to come in here. So we started with 800 grit. We released and removed all of the clear coat that had begun to fail on the lens. We pulled off some of the polycarbonate plastic. Then we went to 1500 grit to refine the 800 grit sanding marks. Then we went to 2000 grit. Now we're just making sure it's completely dry. Now I'm going to compound it and polish it. What I'm going to use for a compound is Meguiar's 105. I really like Meguiar's 105 on plastic. For some reason it works really, really well. It's got a nice cut to it, and it gives me some nice clarity. So there's a little tip there for you guys, but if you're using a different type of compound, that's cool. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is take my dual action polisher, just a simple dual action polisher. It's got a Lake Force. You've seen me use this many times in my videos. Lake Force Country. It's a Lake Country Force Pad, medium cut. That's going to be more than enough to get the 2000 grit out with the M105. Where's my M105? It's behind me. Whenever you're using a compound and it's been sitting for a while, shake this sucker up. Make sure you completely shake up the compound or the polish, however you want to look at it, and get those abrasives to distribute evenly within the bottle before you put it on the pad. So I'm going to put a little bit on the pad. I actually like, some guys are like, hey, do you put 2 pea-sized drops? I like to use a bunch of tiny little drops all over it, like a kid with bad acne. So it's going to look something like that. It looks like a lot, but it's just a, I don't know, 20, 30 different little dots. I can come in here, I'm going to slightly tap the lens, distribute my polish. I got my polisher on too. I'm going to turn it on and just distribute the polish of the compound a little bit evenly across the panel. Well, that would be great if we had power. Oh, I plugged in the wrong plug. How about that? No editing. We're on the fly. Alright, I've distributed the M105 out across the polycarbonate lens. I'm going to speed up to about 5.5 or 6. I'm going to work this compound incredibly slow across the lens. Really, really slow all the way across. Could be a little bit boring. That's a key point when removing sanding marks from plastic. Work incredibly slow. You'll get far much more clarity, brilliance, amazing effect from the lens, and your customers will love it. But here we go. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt with these GM little tits or tabs that are on the plastic. You got to work around them a little bit, but you can do it. Just work around it slowly. So now I'm going to come in and wipe up my compound or polish, however you want to look at it. Now for me, what I typically do is I go over it twice with a good compound and a cutting pad. I want to just increase clarity a little bit. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to go over it again one more time with M105. I know the lighting's probably horrible in here to see the results I'm getting, but really it's all about understanding the process, starting with heavier grit than 1500 to completely remove that dead clear coat from the lens. Also refining your scratch marks, coming out with either, if you start at 800, go to 1500, go to 2000. You can go to 2500 if you want. You can go to 3000 if you want. That's fine. But that's really the key points here, is that just take your time with it and dial that sucker in. It will look great. All right, one more cutting pass here with the compound, and then we're going to polish it after this. All right, we're done with the compound. Our last step is to go in with the polish, and I'm going to use M205 for a finish polish. I want to just really make this lens pop. I really want to bring some amazing clarity to it. So I'm going to just keep the camera rolling. Maybe boring for some of you guys, but I know some of you guys are trying to learn and figure this stuff out. So I'm trying to give everything that I know about a lens. And to be honest with you, I could probably make a 4-hour video about polycarbonate lenses and how to polish them, but these are some really great basics to get you on your way. I think it's a little bit more than the basics because, again, as I told you, you want to be far more aggressive than 1500 grit just to get true clarity, and then slowly back yourself out to 2000 or 2500 grit. So now I'm going to take my cutting polish or my cutting pad off, and I'm going to go to a light polishing pad. Happens to be Lake Country white pad. It's a light cut pad, light polishing pad, however you want to look at it. I'm going to use M205 to just restore some clarity from the compound. I want to restore some more clarity to that lens. Go ahead and mix your compound, shake it up if it's been sitting for a while. Same thing, I like a tiny bunch of drops all over it, like a kid with bad acne at the age of 15 or 16. Works in my world. You guys have to figure out what works in yours. Oops, sorry, shook the camera. Gonna go in, just kind of tap the polish over it. Turn my DA down to speed 2 just to spread out the material. All right, that's starting to look beautiful. I like it. Some of you are probably going, holy crap, we're into a 40-minute video just to do one lens. Well, obviously I'm talking, trying to help you guys out. But typically on this truck right here, it's actually got 4 lenses. You got your, I guess these are your high beams up above, or maybe your low beams, and then you got plastic lenses down below. There's 2 on each side. I would literally do this for a customer to do these 4 lenses. It would probably take me about an hour and a half to do it. Again, I'm not talking. I can get right to work. Some people might be going an hour and a half. Holy crap, to work on lenses. I do it in 35, 40 minutes. Well, this isn't a race. It's not a judgment, folks, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but I want perfection. I want to stand out, and I also ask a lot more money for headlight restorations than most people do. These 4 headlights here on this car, I probably would charge the customer to wet sand them, compound, polish it, and put a permanent coating on it, somewhere from $110 to $150. And I'll be in their driveway for an hour and a half, whatever it takes, that's fine. But my customer will come outside and look at this lens, especially if he used somebody else in the past, a $35, $40 guy, who didn't tape things up right, who left a mess all over the front of the bumper. The headlights started to begin to fade 3, 6 months later. I give my customers solutions. I solve this stuff from fading. I put a permanent coating on it. The permanent coating is made by Optimum. You guys can find it on Auto Geek, I think, sells it. It's their permanent headlight lens coating. It works phenomenally well, works really, really well. And I'm confident in it where I can offer my customers a limited lifetime warranty. If it fails again, I come back and do it for free. Of course, I got to use the word limited lifetime. You got to have lawyers tell you how to give these warranties to the buying public. I won't cover it if the lens gets hit with a rock and it cracks the coating or cracks the lens. You got to be careful with your wording. But if the lens, through normal wear and tear, was to fade or oxidize, however you want to look at it, or get yellow again, I will do it for free. Customers are willing to give me $150, not because it's a game of smoke and mirrors. I'm not selling snake oil. I'm actually giving them a solution, and they feel comfortable with giving me that kind of funds because they see the value in it. They see the level of perfection I'm trying to achieve. I give them a coating that gives them a peace of mind. They don't have to worry about it again. Again, I could have a customer that has a $300,000 car. The lens could cost $1,000, $1,300. Then there's labor in replacing the lens. To me, a permanent coating, some guys will tape up the front of this with a garbage bag and spray it with a clear coat. I don't have time for that. That takes too long. I like the Opti coat. permanent headlight lens restorer. I'll try to put a link down below if you guys are interested in it. But there you go. So that's my process. This particular lens took me 800 grit, 1500 grit, and then out to 2000 grit, refine those scratch marks. But I wanted, the longest part of the process is your first pass, your 800, your 600, 400 grit, whatever you want to do. That's where you want to spend most of your time. That's where perfection's truly going to come from. Get rid of all that clear coat. When you're using 1500 grit, you're not getting that clear coat off. It may look like you are, but you're not. Trust me, you got to go far deeper than that. Sorry to chemical guys, Auto Geek, that make these 10-minute videos on how to do headlights. If you want perfection, you got to go far deeper than that. Tape up your stuff. Clean up after yourself for your customers, so when they come out, they not only love the lens, but they love the care and detail you gave them. Don't scratch things up. That's why I like to use my hand with the sponge and the wet sandpaper. I control the moment far better than using something on a drill. What if the drill was to slip? Holy crap, that's the last thing I want. I don't want to ruin my customer's car. That's not why I'm there. So I like to do it by hand. Does it slow me down a little bit? Yup, but I get better results. I can feel so much more through my hand than using a drill. I lose my sense of touch. I want perfection. I want amazing results. So that's the way I do it. 45-minute video, guys, on how to do headlights. It's Christmas. Holy crap, it's not Christmas. Please don't say that. It's Easter. Let there be light, right? Jesus has risen, so they say. I don't know. Bunny rabbits are running all over the place and banging each other like rabbits do. What's Easter eggs have to do with Jesus' resurrection? I don't know. Who cares? I can't figure it out anyway. But here's the deal. That's my process to doing headlight restoration. I've removed all that oxidation, restored clarity and shine. I can put a coating on this if I want. This happens to be an old beat-up truck of mine. I use it to go back and forth to the dump with. I just wanted to make a video on headlight restoration. I'm not putting a coating on this thing. I don't care if this thing gets yellow again in a year. Who cares to me, you know? No biggie. But again, if you're a professional detailer and you're doing this, you might want to look into offering a coating, kind of stand out amongst the competition, because not a lot of people offer it. Not in my area anyway. In Dallas, I don't see it. If you happen to live in a state where the lens is part of the inspection process, and if it's cloudy, hazy, or yellow, they'll deny their customer state inspections. I am convinced that if you live in these states, you live in a high temperature area with a lot of sunshine like in Dallas, I could basically offer this service 24/7, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, and make an honest living. Because when I drive around, I'll pass 10 cars on the highway. 3 or 4 of the cars on the road, of the 10 I pass, they all have faded, foggy headlights. There's good money in this, and it's honest money. And you want to solve your customers' problems, give them a coating. That's important. You don't want to be the guy that gives them the $35, $40 fix. They're gone in a half hour, and then 4 months, 6 months later. Or you can be that guy, that's fine, because those customers end